right. So how's Dover handling the coronavirus pandemic?
Dover is handling the coronavirus pandemic quite well and very proactively. The town has been working around the clock for nearly a month now, making sure that we had the proper procedures and protocols in place to be able to confront this head on for the community. And I think to date we've done quite a good job in making sure that we are at that point where we are prepared. There are a few particular things I think that we've put in place that have been extremely helpful that I'll quickly share with you. The first is, from the outset, we established a task force that consisted of a whole host of town representatives. So this task force is comprised of the Board of Health, members of the Board of Selectmen, members of town administration, our public safety leaders, our police chief, our fire chief, our EMS administrator, school representatives, our Council on Aging director, and our Park and Recreation director, among others. And this group meets twice a week, has been meeting twice a week. And what we do is essentially we go around the room and make sure that everybody updates on any matters that have changed in their area, as well as updates related to what they're doing related to either impromptu preparedness or preparedness plans that we have established. And those plans really center around a whole host of scenarios on, what ifs, what would the town do if there were certain situations that arose. And that helps us make sure that as things change with this, as they do, day to day, hour to hour, that we're in a place that we're able to pivot, react effectively to provide community support. The other thing that's been really helpful for us is we established communication channels to be able to communicate regularly with the public. So we've been directing everybody to the Town of Dover's website, which is at doverma.org, and has a whole host of information tailored to the town, as well as general information related to resources such as the CDC and Mass DPH. Along with that resource, we've been pushing information out regularly on our social media channels, which is the Town of Dover's Twitter and the Town of Dover's Facebook page. And we're also issuing regular email updates from the administration's office that go out to the community. So those four channels have really been helpful in us getting out messaging and updates quickly to the community and the public at large. And the third piece is, it really takes a village to confront something like this. And we have had incredible support from the community, from residents who would like to sign up to volunteer to be able to provide services such as food delivery to folks who are homebound, to our nonprofit and religious leaders in town who have stepped up to provide services and also volunteer, as well as, businesses and everyone else in the community who has banded together to make sure that we got the infrastructure in place to continue to provide services for those in need as it relates particularly to the COVID crisis that's in front of us.
Yeah, so you're meeting with all these organizations via video call, I assume, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, so the town has been using Zoom. We set up business accounts early on so that our regulatory boards could continue to meet virtually and conduct their business. As you know, no changes have come down from the state that relates to certain regulatory decisions that happen would be, the planning board or our zoning board of appeals. So we wanted to make sure that the infrastructure set up so those individuals could continue to conduct their business. We've put together some really nice guidance for those entities on how to use Zoom, as well as different scripts that they can use to be able to take public input and how the public can, continue to participate in these meetings via the posted link on meeting agendas. In addition, we have accounts available for staff and for other organizations who may need to, quickly get together to have a meeting. So that's been helpful for us to continue to operate remotely, and as everyone is, for the most part, separated.
Yeah, so you're trying to keep business as usual going as much as possible.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And so to that end, um, as I'm sure you're aware, all town public buildings are closed to the public with the exception of the transfer station. But we are still trying as best we can to conduct business and continue to get back to constituents and provide general day-to-day services that don't require kind of hand-to-hand, human-to-human contact. So we've been encouraging people and directing people on our website and in our other communications to use our online services so people can pay their tax bills, for instance, online, as opposed to coming into town hall and dropping them off at the treasurer collector's office. The same goes for the drop box that we have set up at the roundabout semicircle in front of the building. People can drop off letters, forms, for the clerk, payments, so that they don't have to come into town hall. And we have a really nice, robust layout of the services that we provide online, as well as contact information for people to be able to contact various departments, whether it be via email or via phone call, so that they can get a sense of what's still available and how they can conduct business. And again, that resource is online for folks under our COVID informational page on our website.
Yeah, and also, what's the status of emergency services? If anyone has any issues, all those services are more or less up and running at full capacity still.
Oh, absolutely. Our police department, our fire department, and our EMS departments are all up and running, all fully staffed, all prepared with the various protocols, not only to keep individuals and patients at large safe, but our first responders safe as well. And so I commend our public safety leadership and all our first responders for all the incredible work that they're doing and continue to do during this. These protocols that they have worked through and put in place have been working well, and it allows us to continue to operate in times of need and in times of crisis.
Yeah, maybe do you want to talk a little bit about what the stay in place recommendations are for residents at this time?
Yeah, absolutely. So generally at a statewide level, the state is recommending, the governor is recommending that anyone traveling to the state self-quarantine for 14 days. In addition, anyone traveling to Dover, resident or not, is required to notify the Board of Health so that they can have contact with those individuals to make sure that they run through a handful of questions that help identify whether someone is symptomatic or not. Beyond that, the other recommendations that are in place are to continue to practice social distancing. So if you don't need to leave your house, don't. That doesn't include, going out to the grocery store or going out for, particular emergencies or things like that. But the general guidance is that, to really slow this thing down and to ultimately stop it, we need to make sure as, a community and a commonwealth and a country at large that we are separating ourselves from others as much as possible. Also practicing, good sanitary habits such as washing your hands frequently with warm water and soap for at least 20 seconds, using hand sanitizer, wiping down frequently used or shared things such as countertops and phones, tablets and doorknobs, and practicing those things to help minimize, the human-to-human contact by which this is spread.
All right. And I guess maybe also we should talk about what's the status of various non-emergency businesses and services in the town of Dover.
So town services, as I mentioned, buildings are closed off to the public, but we've got a sketching crew working still in town on site. Individuals working remotely, so people shouldn't hesitate to pick up the phone or reach out via email if they have a question. But again, we're minimizing and we've shut off the public access to the building so that we're able to continue to provide services electronically, and we can help guide people through how to do that if they need some assistance. So all they need to do is call a particular department or shoot an email to a particular department. And again, all that information can be found on the town's website under our COVID page. The other, private businesses in town are still, for the most part, still operational. In particular, our food service entities are still operational, but of course, following the governor's executive order as it relates to, essential and non-essential businesses, in terms of limiting and restricting congregation of individuals, so nobody can dine in any of the restaurants or shops that we have, but they can continue to take out order food for takeout, and some are doing delivery, I believe. So we've been encouraging individuals, at a time like this when business really slows, that if, they do need a meal, if they are out, or if they're delivering food to individuals who are homebound or at risk, that they consider these local establishments that could really use the support at this time when things have really slowed down.
Yeah, and then what about the Postal Service? Is that still running?
The Postal Service is still open. Yep.
Okay. I guess some of the other things. What's been the coordination with other non-business entities like religious communities, the school community, and things like that?
Yeah, the coordination has been it's been incredible, and it's interesting as this is kind of a one-of-a-kind situation that we're all faced in. It's interesting to see how well things have fallen into place and how everyone has kind of stepped up to support one another, and things have been going well. So we're in regular contact with the religious community. They're one of the first entities to reach out, certainly to my office, to offer their support, whether that be spiritual check-ins by way of phone call to individuals to make sure that folks are doing all right, to offering up their particular locations if they're needed as a place of reprieve. If we get to a place where folks need to be, in quarantine, or really just helping with, food delivery and other service delivery for folks who can't leave their home. So that's been fantastic. The school communication has been incredible as well. The superintendent and the school staff have done a great job in keeping us apprised of the changes that are occurring at the school, as well as working closely with us as we make policy changes across the board. For instance, closing down playground parks. That was a joint effort between the town and the region, which helps us kind of send one shared message and make these changes unilaterally, really, so that we're not doing things piecemeal. I'd also mention that Sherburne has been an incredible partner for us. Our Board of Health has worked closely with their Board of Health for quite some time on this, and they've been doing really well. And I think, part of our success is that synergy between, between our neighbors, to be able to learn from one another and just share what's working and perhaps things that we need to look at moving forward. And I'd also mention that, from a state level, our legislative delegation, our state leaders and the governor's office, the secretaries and DPH across the board have been establishing regular conference calls for local leaders to be able to call in and both understand what we can access in terms of support, but also, hear from the communities on, hey, what are some of the challenges that you're facing as you're trying to work locally on these things. So they've been open, receptive, and we've seen a lot of legislative changes come from that open dialogue.
It's great to have that. I guess maybe just sort of a last word in terms of how people maybe can get involved as volunteers. Will all that be through the website as well?
Yeah, so we've set up a volunteer form where we're that can be found on our website, and that's where we're directing individuals if they're interested in signing up to volunteer. The volunteerism has been, really our backbone to be able to provide services to folks again who are homebound and are in need of food or a prescription, or really just a call to check in to say hello so that we can identify our vulnerable population. So we've got incredible an incredible outpouring of support so far, and we'd like to continue to build upon that roster of individuals. So, we encourage anybody who is interested in volunteering to visit our website and sign up on that form. It doesn't commit anyone to a service, but at least we have a name and contact information in the sense of what that individual might be interested in providing, so that if the need arises, we can call on them.
Yeah, no, that's great. Is there anything else you'd maybe want to say to the community?
Yeah, I think the other piece is certainly if you need something, if you're a resident and you need something by way of service or have a question or a concern, please don't hesitate to reach out. Again, all of our information is on the website at doverma.org. If you don't have access to the internet or are able to get to our website, we encourage anyone who's in need to call the Council on Aging. They can be reached at 508-315-5734. And again, we encourage anyone who's in need or has a question to call that number, and we'll make sure that we direct you to the appropriate resource. And the last piece is just, again, a thank you to the community, everyone from our local leaders to our residents, to people, signing up to volunteer. It's been a Herculean effort, and again, it's only made possible by everyone coming together to work on this thing together. So I certainly appreciate that and want to recognize everybody's efforts in that regard, and of course continue to practice social distancing and the other protocols that are being recommended by our Board of Health as well as the state and the CDC. It's anticipated that we may see a peak of cases in the next couple of weeks, so we want to make sure that we remain diligent and understand the importance that we continue to practice these social distancing practices to help reduce the number of individuals who catch this virus.
Yeah, no, of course. So I guess stay healthy, and hopefully, the rest of the community stays healthy as well, and this can, be resolved with the best possible outcome. So thanks so much for taking the time to talk to me, and yeah, thanks anyone watching this for watching.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.